Hello everyone, this is Kenneth Chu. Welcome to episode 36 of Mother Industrialist Live Show, where we talk about entrepreneurship, parenting, and life. And in this episode, we are going to talk about how to integrate work and parenting. And in this episode, I'm really blessed and really honored to have invited this mompreneur that I've met her about 2 months ago. And the moment we started talking, realizing our vision are very similar. And she's maybe a background about herself is she's a managing director of BP Dental and Linguadontics Clinic and Progressive Practice. She's also awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year 2017. She's also a parallel entrepreneur, congruent leader, progressive practitioner, change advocate, author, speaker, coach, and consultant. And not forgetting, she's a mother of two. And recently, she has founded TEDx Duxton Hill. So without further ado, let us welcome Louisa. Hi, Louisa. Hi, hello, welcome.
Hi, Kenneth.
Thanks
Really.
for thanks for making time. And I know it's really late, and finally we got onto the show. So before we officially kickstart, there's a tradition, which is every guest get to answer the question of the day posted by the previous guest before we can kickstart with the show. So are you ready with the question of the day?
Sure.
Okay. So the question of the day posted by the previous guest is, are you happy with your current life? So you got the question?
Yes.
Okay, give some time to think about it while I go on to Facebook Live to check if you are live successfully and if our audio are good to go. Okay, so I'll come back to you. Okay, let's see. Okay, I see. We are on. Okay, my voice is there. Okay, okay, now waiting for your part to come. Okay, I can hear you. Good, loud and clear. So I see someone coming in. I see more people coming in. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming in and thanks for tuning in. And thanks for supporting Louisa and me on this live show. So, Louisa, are
Yes.
you ready with your answer to the question of the day?
Yes. I mean, you asked
Okay,
me if I'm happy with
with your
my
current life. Yes.
yes. The answer is definitely yes. And I think the reason is because I practice gratitude. I
Hmm.
am always counting my blessings. And I think when we pay attention to the little blessings that we have in our lives and you're grateful for it, you'll always be happy. Yeah.
Hmm.
So for me, I am really truly blessed. Uh,
Wow.
Today's topic is about integrating, work and parenting.
Hmm.
And for me, the key to achieving this is really the help that I'm getting from.
Hmm.
So the
That's
first
good.
people I really have to thank would be parents. I am one
Hmm.
of those who very fortunate to have my parents stay with me,
Wow.
very supportive, grandparents on both sides, my husband parents and my own parents helping with the kids whenever we need help with. So that truly is the first blessing that I really want to be grateful for. Yeah.
Wow, wow, that is really very inspiring to hear that, and you are truly happy with all that, and that then now officially we can kickstart with the show. So before we move on further, Louisa, maybe you can do a short introduction about yourself.
Mhm.
Share with us what were you doing prior to you starting business or working on a business, and maybe what were you doing back then or what you studying and what was your background and currently what are you working on.
Right. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but before I was a managing director of DP Dental, which I've been doing. I mean, I've been managing for 12 years already.
Wow.
But prior to that, I was an educator. So I
Mm.
was a teacher. I was teaching in one of the top secondary schools in Singapore. And And I realized that nowadays when I go to events, networking events, I'm bumping into my ex-students a lot.
Wow.
I used to know them when they were like 14-year-old secondary school girls, and now they are like, grown ladies. And yeah, it's amazing now when, years later you see your students, and how much they have changed and grown, and now they're more like your peers.
Yes.
So I think being a teacher really prepared me for a lot of things, that I had to adjust to later on in my business, in being an entrepreneur. Because I think being a teacher truly prepares you to be many different roles at one time. Yeah. So 12 years ago, my husband and I bought over an existing practice that he was an associate doctor as. And so from there, it was no turning back. It was like, to us, it was a family business. So we put in all our savings. We had to borrow money from parents. So we really had to make it work. And we did, we bought over the practice at the beginning of 06. By the end of 07, we actually grew it from a 1-chair to a 4-chair practice. And there was really just constant growth. And yeah. So just last year, we even set up another branch of DP Dental, and we call it the Linguadontics Clinic. And so we are really pushing a lot of frontiers in the healthcare industry. And because we're not just a dental practice, we look into airway, we look into sleep, we look into early orthodontic treatment, we look into preventive treatment. So right now, our youngest clients are like as young as 4 days old. Yeah.
So when you talk about the linguadontics, because that was where I met you,
Yes.
where you were sharing with us how does the tongue affect the growing up of a child, and a lot of parents are worried about delay in speech and stuff like that, and that was really covered. Maybe you can speak, maybe share more with us on, because to me it's a new term like linguadontics. I even asked you how do I pronounce it. I hope I pronounce it correctly. So
Yes.
maybe you can share a bit more on that, because the audience that is tuning in, most of them are parents, especially mothers. I believe this is something, because I myself am a parent with a 9-year-old daughter, and I can totally relate to what Linguadontics Clinics is providing, and maybe want to you to share with the parents, maybe because it's something that is so new that I would want them to know about this. So maybe you can share a bit on that,
Sure.
Louisa.
Linguadontics is a term that we coined because lingua meaning tongue, dontics for dentistry. So a lot of people actually don't realize the importance of the tongue in the development phase for a child. Actually, once the baby is born, you realize they don't have any teeth, right? But the tongue is there in place to help them, feeding, with swallowing, with breathing also. So what we're realizing is that if the tongue is not in the right place, actually it has many different it has effects throughout one's life. And so what we would really like to do is to educate parents on the importance of recognizing if there is any restriction of the tongue, or if habits such as actually bottle feeding, pacifiers, all these are actually promoting low tongue position. And what that does in turn is that it affects airway, it affects sleep. And a child, when they are sleeping, that's when the growth hormones are most active and they are growing. But if the sleep is disrupted because of airway issues, then that's when it's going to hamper their growth also. So this is something that is so important, and yet not many people know much about it. So that's where we really have a public health message that we want to inform parents with, that really it's as simple as just 3 things, keeping the tongue up, keeping the lips closed, and breathing through the nose. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's what linguadontics means.
Wow, that is a like to a lot of parents, like about the airway, about
Yes.
a lot of child illnesses and stuff like that. That is
Yes.
very related to the tongue. and I believe that that you guys have a reason of why you set up this and to create this as awareness. So other than that, because you also recently founded TEDx Duxton Hill, and it seems that you are building a lot of businesses and even communities. And I'm just curious about this term about parallel entrepreneur. Because previously I was asking and was thinking, why not we bring on onto the show and share? Because this is something new, and I'm just curious, and maybe you can share it with the audience or the listeners. What is parallel entrepreneur?
I used to call myself a serial entrepreneur,
Mm,
because I had, I thought that was what you call someone with multiple business,
correct.
until someone pointed out to me that, hey, serial means that you start one, you sell the business, and then you start another one, continually on. So he says, what you're doing is not serial, it's parallel, because you have
Mm,
got two or three businesses going on at the same time. And
mm,
I realized that, yeah, he's right. Actually, in my past, there were several businesses that I actually had to sell off.
mm,
At one point in time, I own an art studio for kids,
mm.
which I sold to a parent, one of the parents. At one point, I even founded a nursing poncho,
Oh,
precision poncho business, yeah, which I have since sold to a very good friend, and someone actually,
oh,
Suing of
Suling.
Art.
Okay,
Yeah,
no wonder it sounds very familiar, the poncho.
yeah. I mean, I
Okay.
just felt that at some point I needed to, edit my life, right? And was going
Mm,
on in too many strands, and I decided that, okay, the poncho would, actually be very well taken care of by her.
mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So I'm very grateful that she took up, the MP,
mm,
the Montpetit brand, and
mm.
actually, she can bring it to greater heights because of,
Wow.
her ability. I think for me, it's that, always it's like everything seems like an opportunity. I'm
Mm.
quite a optimistic person. So everything I really want to try and pursue if it's
Mm,
within my ability. But I've also learned that, sometimes we kind of need to, take a check and
mm.
our lives a bit, and
Yes.
then choose to refocus. And so right now, the focus has been narrowed back to healthcare,
Mm,
but I'm still very passionate about education, which is why progressive practice, is the education arm, where currently we are running courses for dentists and other healthcare professionals.
mm,
uh, but I do also want to extend it one day to parents, and
definitely.
to, maybe also, like, small medium enterprises who would really love to learn how to scale their business, to grow their business. I mean, these are all, um, I mean, I had zero business experience, but I think, whatever I've learned along the way, all the mistakes that I have
Mm,
made, I really want to be able to share, so that, people don't have to go and make the same mistakes,
yes.
and maybe save them some heartaches. Yeah. So yeah, that's what, yeah, I hope to be able to do.
Yeah, I realized that we are pretty similar because like the being optimistic is one of it, and also you seems to be curious, and you seems to be testing out a lot of stuff, and building a lot of things. You like creating stuff, and like
Mm.
the like poncho, I never could relate that to you, like because all the while you've been focusing on the dentistry, onto the education, but it's like something that you created, and now you have sold it to a good friend, and it's like you're always constantly on the lookout for a lot of stuff, and you also never forget the roots of like your what you're passionate about education, because you came from education, being a teacher, and you are also educating your area. That means your area expertise. That means people in the industry, and it's really liberating to hear that you want to bring it to parents, because I believe there's a lot of education that parents would want to
I
like
always Yeah, I always say parenting is one of those career, right, where you
Mm.
never really were, you never went to school for to learn about, and you kind of have to just do by trial and error. I
Yep.
mean, honestly, just like in our dental practice, everything we do, we want to address the root cause of the problem.
Mm.
That's why we're realizing that children with crooked teeth, what is the root cause?
Mm.
When we address the airway, the tongue, we can address more properly, how that teeth get misaligned in
Mm.
the first place. Likewise, I want to help kids. I want to be able to help kids, but I realize that actually parents play a huge role
Yes. Yeah.
in either bringing them up, or sometimes even, well, to put it in a very we sometimes screw up the kids,
Mm.
and
Mm.
unwittingly, and we need to know what is the right thing to do.
Mm.
So that's why I feel like in order to reach the parents, I will be able to help the children, so that we don't have to later on, undo the unnecessary damage that we have accidentally done,
I
for
understand.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what you say is true. Is like the parents, because children, they model after us, they listen to us, and a
Mm.
lot of times even us parents, like you, when you have your first child, you are very fresh into parenting. And I like there's a friend who shared, like, parenting doesn't come with a menu,
No.
doesn't kind of come out with instruction, like SOP and stuff like that, and everybody's parenting is different. So that's where the knowledge comes. And recently I just did a workshop about prenatal with modern TCM, about TCM.
Mhm.
And in fact, from that session, I myself, although my daughter is already 9 years old, I'm learning new things from the modern TCM physician. And the new parents, they are also benefiting from it. So there's always constant information and knowledge that us parents can learn from, like from Linguadontics itself is something fresh, and is really advanced technology, and it's coming in. And these are things that most parents will not be able to reach out to. And that's where I believe
This
that
is where
there's
you
that.
come in, right?
Yeah,
Platforms like this that allow us to share.
yep.
I really want to share a bit about this thing about what you just said about being open-minded. I think
Mm.
what really allowed me to be successful in managing the dental practice is
Mm.
because I don't limit myself in what I can or cannot know. I'm very hungry for knowledge all the time. So I would attend implant courses. I would attend a lot of advanced dental courses, just because
Mm.
I really want to know, and and honestly, one of the failures of our education system is
Mm.
when we make our kids, when we graduate from university, say, and we
Mm.
feel like we already know everything that we need to know, and
Mm.
that is such erroneous thinking. you know
Mm.
Only this is just the beginning of knowing what we don't know, really.
Correct, correct.
There's so much information that's still being discovered.
Mm.
I always feel like, even for my kids' generation, right? I have a 13-year-old boy and an 8-year-old, and I
Mm.
feel like, when they are my age, right, the top job in the world has not even been discovered yet. It's
Yep.
not been invented yet. It's such a different world that they live now, and what they need to be exposed to is sorry, she just dropped in. You want to say? Yeah.
No
So
problem.
yeah. So hello.
Hello.
Yeah. So the top job hasn't been invented yet. So really,
Yes.
I think we all have to keep an open mind. Yeah.
Mm. That's good. And I'm glad that I'm hearing from an educator, from someone who's been a teacher in one of the top school, and hearing you say that, it's kind of like showing that there's really a lot of things that we do not know. And like even for us, we have to keep on learning.
Yes.
And what I realized, that a lot of parents, they stop learning once they became a parent. They let their children learn a lot of stuff, but parents, because of their their job, their work, long hours of work, they are not able to expose themselves to new things, new technologies. and also constantly building and growing themselves. That's what I realized. And like hearing from you, like your children are already pretty big, pretty old, and you're still learning, you're still putting yourself out to learn new things, new technologies, even going for courses. And that is something that I see in a lot of mompreneurs, that I believe your children are also um, following. They're also seeing all these things from you. And the other thing is, I know you have you do a lot of things. You are a parallel entrepreneur. You also very involved in community stuff and building community and sharing knowledge. How do you manage all this? And this is also something that bring us to the topic of the day. Like, how do you integrate work and parenting? And maybe you can share with us what are the steps that you do, or maybe what's the formula, stuff like that.
I get asked that question a lot, like, how do you manage, because I'm quite active on social media.
Yes.
My husband and I, we travel a lot because
Mm,
we feel like we have a very deep message that we want to share with the world. So we would go around the world and give lectures to other dentists and share this new field that we are discovering, so that they in turn can help more people in their country. And people ask me, so what happened to your kids? Don't you feel bad that you are leaving them? you know
mm,
and I think for me, really several things to keep in mind. I think firstly is that um, I have a different belief when it comes to this thing that they call work-life balance.
mm, mm,
Yeah, I used to I used to I remember when I was a teacher, I used to feel guilty
mm,
all the time. Like when I'm with the family, I feel guilty that, oh, I'm not doing my marking, and then when I'm at work, I feel guilty I'm not spending time with the family. And I think a lot of people struggle with that a lot, juggling work and family. Um, and I have since learned to to think it in terms of integration.
mm,
Okay, so I practice work life integration.
mm,
Right. Mark Zuckerberg's sister actually also tweeted once that, oh,
mm,
there are these little areas. There are 5 different areas in your life that you have to take care of, but you can only focus on 3 out of the 5 at
mm,
one time. Okay, so basically, if you want to focus on your family, maybe your friends will have to give. You hardly see your friends and all. If you focus on work, then But for me, I believe in work-life integration, in the sense that I my circles of influence, they overlap.
mm.
So like now when I'm doing this, I'm also having my
Yes.
child keeping. Yeah. So basically at work, my colleagues are also my friends.
Mm.
Yeah. Sorry, dear, I'm doing a recording now. Okay. Downstairs in my bag. Okay, so sorry.
No worry.
So basically, at work, my friends are also, the friends at work are also the friends for life, for
Mm.
general activities. Just next week we are going off on a family holiday in Taiwan.
Wow.
End of it, Wing Chu is delivering a lecture. So it's the holidays, he has to go and do a lecture.
Mm,
And so how do we manage that? We bring the kids along, we do a bit of traveling, and then grandpa grandma will bring them back, and then we stay on for another 2 days for the lecture.
mm. Wow.
So we try to kind of, yeah, merge different aspects of our lives, so that
Mm,
we can manage it all. Yeah, so that's one way.
mm,
I think for me, another important thing I've learned since my days as a teacher is to stop feeling guilty.
mm,
I used to be so hung up with guilt, in not being able to do everything. All right. So now I learned that I learned to value quality
mm,
more than quantity. because I really can't afford the quantity of time. But
Yes.
then I make sure that when there is that time to be spending with the kids, for instance, then we totally focus and immerse ourselves in it, so that you're actually creating moments, pockets of memorable experiences. Yeah. And I think for me, another very important thing is, which is why I enjoy being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, is that once you reach that stage of maturity in the business where you have a team to support you, then you can actually plan in the flexibility for yourself.
Yep.
So for me, I make sure that my schedule is flexible, so that I can really put aside time for the important moments of their lives, like to be there. So I make sure I volunteer at their schools. So Shay's school, they recently had a activity where they invited the parents to help with because the rice dumpling
Yeah.
端午节 is coming. So we taught them how to do the bajang. Actually, I never knew how to do it, so I had to really Google desperately before it, to learn. Thankfully, another parent was very good at it, so so she did that, and I did the Mandarin translation, and yeah, so it's about like making that time to be present there for them at important
Yep.
milestones of their lives. I try, yeah. Yes, so that's another thing. That's how I think I manage. Yes.
Manage the integration.
Not perfect, but also not being drawn in and sucked in by guilt all the time, because I realize it's not productive. Yeah, always just look forward to the future and say, okay, how can I do it better next time? And then we just all try our best, right?
Yeah, and I like the part where you say that the good of being an entrepreneur is that you can manage that. You can be there when they need, because as you build your business over the years and you start to have traction, you start to have an awesome team, and this is something that in every part of the business you have to evolve. And what I see in a lot of mompreneurs is that they would try their best to to free their time, or to find ways and means or build systems to be able to let the business run with or without them. Like for you, you have a good team that will take over when you are with your kids, and you can take time off and not feeling guilty, because you know you have built up a team that can help you to continue the business with or without you. Just so when you come back into the business, it's still running and going. So and this is very important for a lot of parents, because being in a job you are not able to control, you don't have the control of time, and that's where the guilt will come, because their time mainly are the boss's time, the company's time, so they are not in control. When you're not in control, you are not able to manage to have the flexibility. And that's why when I see it, look at mompreneurs like you have the flexibility of spending time with your children, and also integrating, like when you travel, you can schedule like you're traveling, like the school holidays before your event, and so that the kids will have time with you. At the same time, since you are already there, you schedule that, you can do your work there. And I realized something that is also very important. The part of integration is the support that you get. Like you were saying, that the grandparents is there to support. A lot of parents that I've seen, a lot of new parents, they do not want the support, they just want to be independent. But when you want to have the freedom of time, some of them feel that, oh, everything I have to juggle, I have to take on, I have to take care of the kids, I have to do the household chores, I have to do this, I have to do this, do that, and do the work, get the money back, and do the marketing. And over time you see that they deplete over the time, physically, mentally, emotionally. And ultimately what will happen, the children would be the one that will suffer in this kind of environment, because the parents are depleting, not feeling well, being exhausted, temperamental. And also you talk about not feeling guilty, not do not have the guilt, and also I believe that don't be too hard on yourself. A lot of parents are too hard on themselves, that they could not say, I want to be perfect. I need to do all this for my daughter. I need to do all this for my son. But in fact, you don't have to be 100% perfect. Like you mentioned, you try your best to be as good as possible, but not being perfect. And also, because when you talk about integration, I'm also curious that what is the definition, or maybe what's the difference between the balance, work-life balance, and work-life integration? Do you have any
Um,
difference or
a
definition?
friend who teaches physics once told me that balance is actually the most unstable state.
Hmm.
Because imagine, like, there's a pivot, and then you're trying
Yes.
to create that balance, right?
Yep.
It's actually a bit of flux. It's actually trying to, it's always a, the if you like you're trying to, if you're trying to balance your muscles, you're constantly, trying to, you know you know
Use a lot of energy.
like, you're actually using expending a lot of energy.
Hmm.
So for me, it's really about how can I create overlaps in these areas
Hmm.
of my life, right? I'm a proponent of simplification, of
Hmm.
simplifying. And that's why, actually a term that is very big in my life is this term called congruency.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if some people may have remembered their mathematics lessons from long ago. um, there were you were given a sum, right? They tell you, okay, this triangle is A, right? And then
Hmm.
triangle B, they don't look exactly alike, but once you're told that they are congruent, then you
Hmm.
know, oh, if I know side A, then this one is the same length.
Hmm.
This angle is the same as that, because you're told that they are, you know that they are congruent. So for
Hmm.
me, being congruent means that I align my values, my own personal values, with, let's say, the business, the values in my business. So I'm always the same person, whether I am
Hmm.
my friends, my family, to strangers, to so I simplify my life with, by not having to switch hats. Some
Hmm.
people,
Correct.
like, I have to be this persona at work, and then I have to be this persona at home. Okay,
Hmm.
at home is when they're most that's when truly themselves. But for me, it's just try to live one life, and as
Hmm.
one person throughout. That for me is one aspect of congruency.
Hmm.
Another aspect is really about it's really simply just about you know aligning, so that you are just yeah, just so uh yeah, just keep it simple.
Hmm. That's
I
good.
Yeah, so that's why on Facebook I started the congruence movement.
Hmm.
I started the Congruent Entrepreneur. So I
Yeah.
even started a parents group called Inspiring Kids Congruent Parenting.
Hmm.
I think parents, especially, like earlier you mentioned, right? As
Yeah.
parents, we have to be good role models for our kids,
Correct.
and that's how a lot of times, I think when parents have expectations of their children, I think they have
Hmm.
to kind of look back at themselves and say, are they also living up to those kind of expectations?
Correct.
So otherwise, they're not going to be congruent, and your kid's not going to buy that.
Yes.
And the other thing is also about, I like the play of the word inspiring kids, because if you
Hmm.
think about it, the word inspiring here, okay, can be us as parents inspiring the kids, right?
Hmm.
But it can also be an adjective. And actually, I find that, the adjective form of inspiring is more true, meaning kids are actually the ones inspiring us.
Hmm. Correct.
Sometimes we forget, and then we think we know a lot more. But actually, when you look at a child at his or her purest state,
Yes.
they are the most beautiful, and sometimes the things that they say are the most amazingly truthful. And
Correct.
yeah, so they are actually very good role models sometimes, to remind us of
Hmm.
what we have forgotten, or
Correct.
something how we have transformed ourselves into. And so I think we should, as parents, never forget to look at them and learn from them.
Yeah. I totally agree that on the part that sometimes our children
Yes.
will inspire back us. Like for my daughter, she's very innocent, very pure, very charitable. I would say she like to help people. She's very helpful, and she's very simple, and she like to mix around with people. And sometimes when I look at her, she can just maybe walk into an event and say hi everyone. I was like, do you know everyone? So it also makes me realize that, hey, in fact, why are we putting all the armor on ourselves? Why are we putting all the mask to show that we are more professional? Why are we putting that mask or that persona? We
Yep.
should be like children. Like children, I also realized that when you put them in the playground, any Tom, Dick, and Harry, they'll be their friends. They'll be their best friend forever. And
Totally.
why? Correct. And I was like, sometimes I was like, darling, do you know that lady? No, I just got to know her like 5 minutes ago. Like, no, she's my best friend. I was like, okay. So it can be so simple, and sometimes it teaches me to be relaxed and
Yeah.
not to really prejudge people, and
Yep.
sometimes really have to talk to them to really understand them
Yes.
before we can make any decision whether we should continue um to talk or maybe bring the conversation further. And
Mm.
sometimes even like that, sometimes being direct, like you were saying, that the integration had to be something that at work you are Louisa, at home you're also Louisa, just somebody like maybe your children's mother. You cannot be too much of a different. And that's why a lot of parents are struggling, because at work they have to be the stern boss, and at home they have to be the very good, very how should I put it, comforting mother, and they are totally different at work. So sometimes it's also like a personality split. When they are at work, at back at home they are another type of person, that which is very draining, and it's also very exhausting over time. And I like the part where we can inspire our kids. And that's where I see that a lot of mompreneurs are inspiring their own children with all the resilience, with all the endurance, with all the perseverance. These are life skills that their children, a lot of mompreneurs' children, I realize that they embodies all these values as they grew up, because they see how their parents work in the business, how their parents are on the stage, or how their parents are at exhibition running their business. They see that although they may not be participating, but as they grow up and they start to understand, or maybe what we call in Chinese 懂事, suddenly they like awaken, they will understand all this, and they will understand mommy and daddy, they're working very hard to bring bread back home, and we should be more appreciative. And sometimes you say, hey, darling, we can't buy this thing, because they will understand. But
Mhm.
if let's say a parent that is from a 9 to 5 job, the children may not be able to stand in that position to understand, because the job is, they don't see their parents at work, they only see their parents at home. But as entrepreneur, like you were saying, that you integrate your children into your work, into your business, and even your co-workers are also your friends, so they will know how your
Right.
work.
I mean, sometimes, I mean, the closest I've ever come to being in a corporate environment was in the schools, and it's not exactly as corporate should be, right? But actually, I was recently also invited to speak in one of the corporate
Hmm.
women's group on International Women's Day, and actually, I was just sharing with them that um, actually, what's stopping you from also becoming, thinking like an entrepreneur with
Hmm.
an organization?
Yep.
Probably for some it might be a little bit challenging, but it's not impossible. And for me, it's about the really the mindset, right? Having that
Hmm.
entrepreneurial mindset, because honestly, if you don't keep thinking how to improve things within the business or within the corporation, right?
Hmm.
The business or the corporation will fail,
Yep.
eventually. So it's really about embracing this whole spirit. Yeah, but really, I believe in keeping things simple.
Hmm.
So even like uniforms, actually I'm actually wearing my
Yeah.
uniform from the clinic. I love uniforms. I love not having to think, in the morning, oh, what do I have
What to
to,
wear.
predictable. You just grab it and go. And even like, for special events, then I have my favorite local designer, and then I
Hmm.
just buy a whole series of it, And then every time I'll just pick that, so that becomes my uniform also. So I think for me, I simplify in that aspect also. Having to spend too much time with wondering what to wear. Yeah, and simplifying my wardrobe in that sense. So that's another way of managing. Yeah.
That's a very good tip because sometimes we just want to be free, but sometimes the simple things keep us grounded at the same time also.
Mm.
Yeah. So now in fact time have really passed and really flies. So how does the audience get connected with you? Maybe they want to find out more about the businesses they are doing, or maybe linguadontics, and also maybe they want to learn more about integration of work and parenting, because I believe that you are constantly living that, and maybe because of this short period of time you're not able to share. And I see there's a lot of people coming on live. If any of you watching it live now, and if you have any question, you can post it in the comment section. Me and Louisa will be very very grateful and very thankful, and we will answer your questions. If you have any, you can just drop it in the comment section, maybe even after the live show, then we can also answer at the same time. So
Yes.
maybe you can share with us how they can get connected with you if they want to reach out to you,
Oh,
Louisa.
yeah. I believe you have also shared, right?
Mm,
Well,
in the
I'm
description.
quite active on Facebook to the point where I've already reached my maximum 5,000 friends. Um, so I actually, my friends actually asked me to set up a page so you can find me,
Mm,
you know, um, Louisa Lee as a page, and
mm,
follow the page. I DP Dental and the Linguadontics Clinic is all searchable on Facebook and Instagram. I am on Instagram too.
mm.
I try to keep Instagram more lifestyle, so that's when I post more of my family and our travels and all that.
Mm,
That's at Louisa Lee.
mm,
On Facebook, I'm on Louisa Yu, YUE, and what else? LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn too. I'm not so much on Twitter, but I
mm.
have a Louisa Lee on Twitter too.
Wow.
Um, my groups, my Facebook groups. I hope that
Mm,
more people would join us on the congruence movement.
mm,
If you're an entrepreneur, then that's where I share some entrepreneurial stuff on the congruent entrepreneur.
mm,
If you're a parent, then do join us on inspiring kids congruent parenting.
mm.
um, yeah, so
Basically you're all around and you're always
yeah, I'm
accessible.
very searchable, and yeah, you can just Facebook message me.
Mm,
Definitely, yeah, I think we now live in a world where if you are you cannot not have a social media presence.
mm,
I know how some people are trying to resist it,
mm,
but really, social media is like your online identity, right? And it's another way of people getting to know you without and so for me, I do maintain and share my thoughts, my views. um I I I think I have accumulated quite a lot of experience in terms of entrepreneurship that I think it will be valuable for some people so that they
mm,
don't have to make the same mistakes probably. Or I just feel like yeah, there's still a lot of in me that I want to, at this stage in my
to
life,
share, yeah.
enough to share. So
Mm,
yeah, definitely, if there's any kind of advice that people need, that they think that I can help with, growing your business, let me know.
mm.
I've got lots of ideas.
Definitely. And thanks a lot. And for those who are watching and listening, I'll be sharing with you Louisa's how you can connect with her in the description. So you can reach out to her, like she has opened up and she said you can reach out to her to ask anything. She'll be more than glad to help you. And last but not least, we are coming up almost to the end of the show, and now it's your turn to ask the question of the day out to the audience and also to the next guest. So Louisa, are you ready with your own question of the day?
Uh, okay, I guess yes.
Okay, so share it with us.
What is that one thing that you would love to do but haven't done yet?
Hmm, what
So
is that one thing
that you would love to do
that you would love to do?
but have not done yet.
Okay, love to do, but have not done it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so the question of the day, correct me if I'm wrong. So the question of the day posted by Louisa is, what is that one thing that you would love to do but have not done it? Am I right?
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
right, Louisa? Okay.
Hidden there is the question like, why have you not done it yet?
Yes, in short. So, for those who are listening, for those who are watching, do post your answer in the comment section. And after the show, I will also post the question of the day for those who have missed out. And last but not least, any last advice for the mothers who are sitting on the fence thinking whether they should step into entrepreneurship or they should pursue their passion? So, what's your last advice, Louisa?
Um, there's never, a right time to start something, and um, for me, um, I remember having this conversation once with this mom, because she wanted to spend more time with her child, and so she actually quit. And then, but the initial struggles was really like, she was sharing with me how ironic it was that actually, because she thought starting the business would then buy her more time with the kids, but that whole process of starting it was actually taking up a lot of time. So um, I think the reality is that it will take the initial, at least 2 or sometimes even 3 years of that initial hard work to get it going. Before your business is grown enough to where you have a team to support
Mm,
you and all that. The initial part is tough, um, but there's always help, and lots of groups out there that can lend you, support groups maybe, or that can lend you the support and help, or always think about collaboration so that
mm,
you're not working alone and struggling alone. Yeah, but really the truth is that once you tide over that initial period, um, when and until you reach that point where you have set up a whole system going for you, um, that is when then really the true rewards of being an entrepreneur, of being a business owner really kicks in.
mm,
When you really experience that freedom of being able to determine the direction, to live out any vision that you have. um, it's a very rewarding process. And for me also, it's the creation of the flexibility of the time,
mm,
so that now I can be there for my child, at the important stages. I can make that decision to do that, and I
mm.
think that's very important for me.
Wow,
Yes.
wow. That's a very good advice from Louisa, and totally inspiring. And last but not least, thank you for making time for this show. I really love to invite you again to share more of various way, because you are such an inspiring mompreneur, entrepreneur. Like you have the heart to really share. To would really love to invite you on to the show again, maybe for the future episode, to share with
Especially
more of the mothers. Yeah.
the healthcare aspects,
Mm,
I think parents really need to know, yeah, what are the things to look out for in bringing up a child, so just a teaser, okay.
mm,
It's as simple as, like, we are human beings, are actually like plants. We only need something very basic like air, you know,
mm,
water, light, and for kids, they need movement. They need to be out of
mm.
the sun and
Yes.
moving around. So yeah, I would love to be able to share, healthcare tips, how to bring up a child healthy, because
Mm,
we're seeing so many, in our modern context, how emphasizing on academics is really ruining them in terms of their health.
Yep.
Yeah, so we really need to get our priorities right.
That's really good, and the healthcare side is really something that parents should be known of more. And
Yeah.
really thanks for sharing so much. And so I see a lot of people are still coming on live, and for those who are coming on live and watching, thank you for coming, and really big thank you to Louisa for making time and for sharing such an inspiring. I really enjoy this talk, and I guess we can talk forever.
No
Uh,
time. Just so fast. Like, is that an hour already?
yes, yeah, it's coming to an hour. So time really flies, and really I would hope to bring you on to the show again. And for those who are watching, if you have any question, or if you have any idea of how you integrate work and parenting, do share it in the comment section. At the same time, if you have any question for Louisa or for me, also comment it in the comment section at the same time. So last but not least, thanks for those who are watching, and thanks for those who are listening to the podcast. And at the same time, thanks Louisa for making time and for sharing your story, and also sharing what you're so passionate about. And last but not least, Kenneth here signing off with Louisa Lee. Thank you for watching Mother Industrialist live show, where we talk about parenting, entrepreneurship, and life. And thanks for watching. And thank you, everyone. Thank you. See you. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.
Okay, so bye-bye.
Bye bye.